Today, I'm going to explain a horror sci-fi movie called The Girl with All the Gifts. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. In an alternate future, most of humanity is turned into cannibalistic zombies known as the Hungries. Sounds dumb, but it's pretty cool actually. Normal people are transformed into these mindless creatures thanks to a parasitic fungus transmitted via spit or blood. The only remaining hope is a cure that could be obtained from a small group of carrier but asymptomatic children. Several such half-zombie children are imprisoned by a group of soldiers at an army base in the home counties. Melanie is one of these test subjects, but she is exceptionally intelligent for her age. Every morning, she wakes up before the base's lights are turned on. She puts on her clothes and prepares for school, even before the guards come into her cell. Two soldiers then tie her ankles, wrists, and forehead to a wheelchair. They roll her out into the hallway, getting her in line with the other children. However, unlike her friends, Melanie wishes a good morning to every person she comes across in the base. After that, she and the others are placed in a classroom, positioned by numbers. The responsibility of educating these kids is handled by a teacher named Helen Justineau. All the children, especially Melanie, adore Miss Justineau, as she is the only one who treats them like humans. After class, Melanie is taken back to her cell, where she is freed from the wheelchair. A security guard soon arrives with her dinner, a bowl full of live worms. How crunchy. The girl digs into these creatures and falls asleep while she is still chewing her food. The next day, Melanie gets a visit from Dr. Caldwell, the lead scientist who is in charge of making a cure against the zombie fungus. The girl reveals that she has solved the riddle that was given to her a few days ago. Caldwell then gives her another one, a logical problem based on the theory of Schrodinger's cat. She quietly watches on as Melanie struggles and eventually fails to answer the question. As a result, Caldwell notes down on her report that the subject is only capable of mimicry. Before leaving, she asks Melanie for a number, and the girl replies with 13. As usual, the very next morning, the guards pick all the children for school. Melanie is being wheeled past the corridor when she notices that cell number 13 is still locked. When they get to the classroom, she further notices that seat number 13 is also empty. The teacher, however, diverts her attention by giving the class a story writing assignment. All the children start nervously scribbling down a few sentences. Only Melanie is able to construct a full story in the given time. Miss Justineau then asks her to read the story aloud so that all her friends can learn from her. It turns out the intelligent girl has written a tale in which she depicts herself as the savior of humanity, overwhelmed by Melanie's innocence. The teacher approaches her seat and tries to brush her hair, but right then Sergeant Eddie Parks, the head of security at the army base, bursts into the classroom. He confronts the teacher and reminds her that touching the children is forbidden. Parks wants to give Justineau a reminder of why this rule was made in the first place, so he walks up to one of the seats, rolls up his sleeve, and brings his arm close to a child. The latter sniffs the sergeant and suddenly unhinges its jaw, trying to ferociously bite the arm. All the other children, except Melanie, mimic the same behavior. That night, Dr. Caldwell arrives in front of Melanie's cell and reveals that she knows what happened earlier. She chats with the girl for a while and later asks for another number. To her utter surprise, Melanie answers 4, which is her own cell number. The following morning, Sergeant Parks personally comes in to escort Melanie. He gets her out of the cell, but instead of heading to the classroom, he takes her out of the facility. Things are not looking good as a huge horde of zombies is attacking the outer fence of the base. Soldiers are seen running and shooting, trying to stall the imminent attack. Nonetheless, Parks calmly wheels Melanie into a laboratory where Dr. Caldwell is waiting. She once again asks the girl about the logical problem based on Schrodinger's cat. Melanie fails to answer the question for the second time, and the doctor draws a final conclusion that she has no logical capabilities. But neither do regular children, so this hardly proves anything. Soon afterwards, a second doctor injects a sedative into the girl's arm, instantly knocking her out. They move her to a surgical bed and restrain her, but Melanie quickly wakes up. Their procedure is soon interrupted when Justineau runs inside to stop the doctor from operating on the kid. Joel would marry this woman. However, Caldwell promises to find a different way to do things and convinces the teacher to put her weapon down. The latter naively lowers the fire extinguisher she'd been holding, only only to get pepper sprayed. This incapacitates Justino, and 2 soldiers soon arrest her before taking her away. However, just as the doctor is returning for her procedure, an alarm starts blaring. Caldwell tells the other doctor to drop the shutters, but as the latter does so, a zombie breaks through the glass and bites her arm. Caldwell kills the zombie using a nearby fire extinguisher, but also cuts her hand in the process. Soon, the other doctor starts turning into a zombie, but Caldwell escapes the lab just in time. Melanie is still tied to the bed and now left alone in the lab with the decidedly derpy-looking zombie. But the creature doesn't even touch the girl, as she too is partially a zombie. Melanie then grabs a scalpel from nearby and frees herself from the restraints. Following this, she walks outside to find complete chaos in the complex. There are zombies running around, attacking soldiers who are trying to shoot them down. Suddenly, she sees Justino getting beaten up by 2 soldiers for not following orders. An enraged Melanie lunges at them and bites a large chunk of their neck before passing out. Moments later, Justino wakes to find the young girl right beside her. The teacher picks her up and gets her inside a military vehicle as the zombies completely take over the complex. The vehicle is being driven by Sergeant Parks, and there are 2 soldiers along with Dr. Caldwell in there. Sometime later, the vehicle stops in the middle of nowhere for a fuel check. This is when Parks and another soldier named Kieran realize that Melanie is in the back of the vehicle. Justino quickly lets the girl out, but Caldwell screams that doing so is not her decision to make. Frightened, Melanie runs just a little ways off from the vehicle, but stops, and she is seeing the outside world for the first time. Meanwhile, the others stay by the vehicle, trying to radio several military outposts, but to no avail. The doctor soon orders them to retrieve her test subject, and Justino goes to chat with the little girl. Parks and Kieran, on the other hand, check the vehicle for supplies, but find no water or food. They only find a singular mask that was once used to retrieve asymptomatic kids into the secure base. The sergeant then makes a plan to go south to a secure outpost named Beacon. Following this, they put Melanie in the gunner's seat of the vehicle, strapped in and masked and looking funny. They soon make another stop so that they can head to a nearby river to get water. When they arrive, a few zombies find them, prompting a shootout with the soldiers. One of the soldiers gets bitten in the fight, so Parks waits a moment to see if he'll turn. Unfortunately, the soldier does begin to change into a zombie, and the sergeant is forced to shoot him dead. As he closes the doors of the vehicle, Parks realizes that Justino has brought Melanie inside with them. The girl asks about the zombies, and Caldwell explains that they were people infected with a fungus transmitted through biting. Parks then goes to start the vehicle, but realizes it won't, as it has been badly busted. They will now have to go on foot through London, a quicker but more dangerous route. The scene abruptly shifts as Parks and Kieran survey the perimeter, which they will have to cross. It's filled with zombies mindlessly standing in front of buildings and shops, like a garden of turnips or some shit. They inform the others that there is no alternative but to pass through the zombies in hopes of finding shelter and supplies in the city. Thus, the group walks between a mass of sleeping zombies, careful not to wake them. They're soon forced to stop when they reach a dead end, which is full of tens of zombies. Their problems keep growing when a zombie mother approaches them with a baby cart. To everyone's utter horror, Caldwell goes up to the creature and tries to peep into the cart. She sees a rat feeding on the corpse of a baby and yelps in disgust. This is enough to wake up a few zombies around the area. Thankfully, the group manages to escape and quietly moves through the zombie-filled streets of the city. They eventually come across an abandoned hospital and go inside. Parks finds an opening to the upper floor, and they all climb up to where they will be much safer. The soldiers and Justino then immediately go on patrol, leaving the doctor alone with the kid. But moments later, the teacher returns and gives Melanie the new clothes that she found for her. The next morning, they notice that more zombies have gathered in front of the hospital. They have no way out, but Melanie comes up with an idea. Since the zombies won't attack her, she convinces them to let her go outside. The kid wants to find a way to move the zombies away from the building. Caldwell doesn't like the plan, but without an alternative, the others agree. Before she leaves, Melanie asks if she can put her new clothes on that her teacher brought last night. She goes outside without her mask and passes the zombies without trouble. However, when she sees a cat, the kid hunts it down and eats it raw. Who's the asshole? Meow. She later goes into a nearby house and finds a little dog. Melanie then returns and uses the small animal as a decoy for the zombies, getting them all away from the hospital. Following this, Parks puts the mask and the handcuffs back on the girl, and they continue their journey through the abandoned abandoned city. They have only walked a few miles when they see something strange, the fungus growing out of the bodies of the zombies. Caldwell thinks this is the next stage in the life cycle of the parasitic organism. She then tells Melanie that in her case, the fungus works more as a symbiote than a parasite, like in the adult zombies. Going deeper into the city, they find a huge mass of bodies growing into a massive fungus that ranges up a skyscraper. Caldwell suspects that when enough zombies come together, they transform into the mature stage of the fungus that can pollinate larger areas, possibly the entire world. They thus leave the outgrowth behind and head towards their destination. On their way, their luck begins to change as they suddenly find a mobile laboratory. The group gets inside the vehicle and starts looking for supplies. Parks tries the engine first, and then the radio, but there is no response from anything. Kieran soon leaves on a supply run, while unbeknownst to anyone, Melanie begins to feel uneasy, as if she's about to turn. She tells the adults that she needs to eat, and they let her out to hunt. Sometime later, the girl finds her food and hungrily tears through it. She is enjoying her meal when suddenly she hears a strange sound and follows it to a bookstore. She peeks through and sees a group of children communicating with grunts. They're all like... To her surprise, Melanie realizes that they're just like her. This is when a little boy comes inside and tells the other that he smelled something. The whole horde of zombie babies, led by their mother, then follow him outside. Back at the mobile lab, Caldwell is getting sicker and informs Justino that she has sepsis. She then starts talking about how she needs Melanie's brain and spine to make a vaccine. Their conversation is interrupted when Melanie returns and tells them about the children she saw. She is convinced that the horde will hunt for Kieran. Elsewhere, Kieran sees a store and crawls under the shutter to get in, but forgets his radio outside. He starts eating whatever he finds and gets distracted by some dirty magazines kept on a nearby shelf. At least if he dies, he's going out with a bang. A little girl soon appears on the spot and allures him between the rafters of the store. Unfortunately, more children and their leader join them, and the horde attacks Kieran together. Meanwhile, Melanie is leading Parks and Justin out to him using her advanced sense of smell. They finally arrive at the store, enter inside, and find Kieran in a half-eaten state, devastated. They arrive at the lab, only to see that the door is open. They quickly walk inside, but Caldwell, who's wearing a mask, sedates them with some kind of gas. She then pulls Melanie toward the lab to perform her procedure, but stops because her hand is profusely bleeding. Caldwell turns around for a moment to fix it, but when she turns back, Melanie is already conscious and alert. With no other option, Caldwell tries to convince the girl to give herself up so that she can save everyone with the vaccine. The girl almost agrees, but asks one last question, whether Caldwell thinks she's actually alive now, or still just mimicking human behavior. The doctor then reluctantly answers that Melanie is very much alive. Upon hearing this, the kid changes her mind, as she doesn't want to give up her life for others. She runs out, leaving the doctor and the other humans locked in the mobile pod. Caldwell follows her, but as she has no gun or protection, the doctor is immediately eaten by a horde of zombie children. Meanwhile, Melanie goes to the huge fungus tree they found earlier and sets it on fire. This will break the pods and activate the spores, causing the zombie seeds to spread everywhere. Unfortunately, Parks had followed Melanie too, and without any mask, he gets infected. The sergeant doesn't want to become a zombie and begs the kid to eliminate him. Melanie, who has slowly grown fond of Parks, reluctantly grabs his gun and shoots him in the head. Later, Justino wakes up in the lab, still protected from the spores. She gazes outside and quickly realizes what has happened. The scene shifts to a few weeks later, and we see Justino is still inside the lab. She is absolutely fine, and now uses her time to teach a horde of zombie children. Melanie is the horde's leader now, and they all attend Miss Justino's lessons together. Subscribe for more videos like this.